if our audio is strong. Let me have a confirmation from your side of the screen with a chat. Yes, thank you so much, Sarah Jackson. Yes, so the audio is strong. So we will be looking at a new topic, but which is very closely related to the one which we did lastly on innovation. And this is called technology transfer. So technology transfer is very closely related to the one which we had recently on innovation, technology transfer. Let me share the screen so I can display the document that I will be using for this discussion. So I'm attempting to share my screen. Sorry. All right, so I'm sharing my screen. Let's give it some time. I can't see it showing yet, but let's hope it will not take too long to display on our screens. And I can see it's attempting to do that. I want to believe that in a short while it should be visible from your end. So with the innovation, one of the concepts that we also discussed or added during our discussion on innovation was the concept of the spread of the innovation, or what sometimes is called the diffusion of innovation. So once the innovation has come up, it produces something new that helps the society. It could actually be a technology, but it could be an innovation in the various ways that we mentioned. Then sometimes if it is a product or a new service, then we talked about how it may spread now for the society to adopt the innovation and have it spread. So what we're looking at is closely related to those concepts, but of course it's also different in its own right. It's a unique concept called technology transfer. And of course, it has something to do with how the technology develops across the society, so that it is, the society widely, it can be used widely in the society, and also issues about the technology being accessible to others to maybe develop or utilize that technology in a sufficient way, get to even know how to probably even build those products, whatever that technology comes up with, being able to see it being done in other locations away from the one who came up with the technology or the innovation, so to speak. So we have the document, seems to be showing now. I want to request somebody there to confirm that from your end you can see the document. So I don't assume that it is showing, and yet it may not be showing. So, but on my end, it appears that the document should be showing. So just yes, thank you so much. You have confirmed that the document is showing on your end. Leroy and Siler Jackson. Thank you so much. So we'll go ahead and do this discussion. So I will actually share this is a very short topic on technology transfer. And so after a short while, I will move to another topic on what we call PONs. That's about fiber technology being used in the homes. You know, the PON technology, will be looking at that in a short while after we are done with this. This is a very short one, but let's go ahead and see how fast we can deal with this as we move to what is called the optical networks, passive optical networks. So we'll be looking at that in a short while. Okay, so with this one other technology, so let me take us back to the top of the document, and then also try to expand it, do a zoom and see, try to make the document, the text a bit wider. Right, this is actually in PDF format. Let me see if it can have this document both in PDF and also in Microsoft Word. But for this one, for this presentation, I preferred we use the PDF format. So I think that's too big. Okay, I think that text is large enough. Now this the document I'm using is based on some written work on this subject. Somebody wrote a paper, and we are adopting that to be our reference for these concepts on technology transfer. And so, of course, the first part here, which I've not removed from, I thought it is good to keep it there. So you can see this is adopted from somebody that written a paper on this. Of course, somebody did some research and wrote a paper on it, and it captures this concept very well in a way that is easy to follow and understand. And so, of course, I'm avoiding the first part of the document because it's not so relevant to us in terms of the concepts, but of course, whatever is said is still quite relevant, although we not refer to it in our discussion. So we just go right into the introduction part, where we start looking. Sorry. Sorry. There. Let me take some liquid here. Right. So this document again, I did not edit those portions. I thought they're still relevant to keep them there. Where still not clearing enough. Where this author had also, of course, being a research paper, this person had put, of course, a lot of references. You'll see references mentioning of certain other authors and researchers and the data they wrote about some of the concepts. So they are still there, and I will keep them there. But when I'm going through the discussion, I may not keep on mentioning these names and dates, except where that may be very, very relevant. So going on, therefore, looking at the content, it starts there that firms have many ways of exploiting their technological assets for profitability and growth. While internal exploitation of technological assets through designing, developing, manufacturing, and selling products and processes continues to be important, Interest in their external exploitation through technology transfer has intensified in recent years. This may be attributed mainly to the globalization of business, liberalization of many developing economies, and greater emphasis on the protection of intellectual property after the formation of the World Trade Organization, WTO. Indeed, today the transfer of manufacturing technology has become an important part of the international business strategy of firms. So that is an introduction. Let's read this part as well. However, the importance of technology transfer from development perspective is nothing new. More than 3 decades back, this gentleman Mansfield pointed out that one of the fundamental processes that influence the economic performance of nations and firms is technology transfer. One of the fundamental processes that influence the economic performance of nations and firms is technology transfer. Economics have long recognized that the transfer of technology is at the heart of the process of economic growth, and that the progress of both developed and developing countries depend on the extent and efficiency of such transfer. So going down here, technology transfer is an area of interest, not just to business, economists, and technologists, but also to other disciplines such as anthropology and sociology, etc. So while anthropologists emphasize the impact of now TT, of course, there is technology transfer. So while anthropologists emphasize the impact of TT on changes in patterns of culture and society, sociologists are more concerned with its role as a vehicle to develop the capacity of individuals and societies to cope with modernization and related changes accompanying that. So it is emphasizing the need for technology, what I may call technology how, or being able to also utilize a certain technology in a different context, or another person being able to use the technology and utilize it for development purposes. So there is that that importance has been is highlighted. There is that need that technology should not just be used just where it developed from, but should be shared to some extent. Technology should be shared, and to some extent, the person that developed that technology could also even be not really required, but it is a good idea that they should enable, they should raise what we say do capacity building, so that others are able to do certain things on their own that relate to that technology without relying on where the technology developed from. And that brings us to the whole concept of emerging technology. So I think I will avoid reading the rest of this portion of the introduction and go right into the place where we have the main concepts that we want to capture here, and that is where it is written, number 2 here. So at this point, so this gives us an overview of technology transfer with the definition and modes explained in this part, this section of the document. All right, so interest in technology transfer goes back to over 6 decades, and during the colonial era, technology transfer by colonial powers to production entities in their colonies was mainly in the primary sector, such as mining, plantation, and agriculture. And those transfers were aimed at the development of methods and techniques in order to obtain the maximum output in export industries such as mining and plantation agriculture, and the development of infrastructure for such industries. Then after independence in the late 40s and 50s, many governments in the newly independent countries showed great interest in acquiring technology for import substitution and often relied heavily on farms from their former colonial rulers to gain access to the technologies needed. And so in this era, continuing at this point, transfer of technology by multinational companies became common, and public internal bodies and not-for-profit organizations also became involved in such activities with the aim of improving living conditions in the recipient country by producing goods to be sold in the local market. So again, there is a long discussion there, which is also good to read, but I'll ask the student to read the rest of the document at that point at your own time. But it gives us a kind of an introduction that that need for making others being able to utilize the technology in a way, being able to do certain things by themselves rather than relying entirely on where the technology came from. We transfer that technology. Of course, it's more of what we normally call capacity building. But nonetheless, the concept of the technology transfer, it takes various forms. The one which I'm describing, capacity building, may just be one of them. But because again, even when we may not have what we are calling capacity building to maybe build our own items as it relates to a certain technology, but we may have the item itself. So we can have either the item or we can have the know-how to create the item. So whichever way, so it can take different forms when it comes to the concept of technology transfer. So this portion again is a more historical, but it still has some very, very important and key concepts to pick from here. And I would ask the student to look at this. Is a very, very good history of how this very how the issue of technology transfer has been handled out there. We could say politically, especially in this case, politically, but also economically. How have various nations handled this issue? Those nations that are well up technological-wise, and those that are still coming up to have these, having their capacity building come up to be able to have their own creations of technology, whether it is out of relying on certain technology that is coming from elsewhere, or being able to be the ones who are doing the invention, so to speak, of the innovation themselves. So this is a good discussion here, which gives a kind of a historical background on this particular very important issue of technology transfer. And so let me pick to this area here, which is of course having more issues that are more relevant academically to us. Various definitions of technology transfer. And it says that even though technology transfer is not a new business phenomenon, the considerable literature on technology transfer that has emerged over the years agrees that defining technology transfer is difficult due to the complexity of the technology transfer process. The definitions The definitions depend on how the user defines technology and in what context. So defining that statement, technology transfer, is not a very straightforward. I mean, it's not a straightforward thing. It's a bit complex, and sometimes you have to look at how we even define technology. How do we, and also what are the contexts that determine that we are doing a technology transfer. But anyway, researchers have come with a number of definitions, which of course are related, but they are emphasizing different approaches to looking at the concept of technology transfer. So with our definition one here, this one says that the term technology transfer can be defined as a process of movement of technology from one entity to another. The term technology transfer can be defined as a process of movement of technology from one entity to another. So that I think that is quite straightforward thinking of the term itself. The English words that are used here, technology transfer, I think that seems to come out almost quite very, very clear as a definition. But explaining it a little further is that the transfer may be said to be successful if the receiving entity, who is referred to as a transferee, can effectively utilize the technology transferred and eventually assimilate it. So emphasizing that again, the transfer may be said to be successful if the receiving entity, who is the transferee, can effectively utilize the technology transferred and eventually assimilate it. So in other words, that is an important part of the previous statement. So to qualify that transfer has happened is that this transfer is only successful if the receiving entity can effectively utilize the technology that has been transferred. At least that this technology is changing the life of this particular individual or nation or context that is receiving the technology, or to whom the technology is being transferred to. So the movement may involve a physical assets, know-how, and technology knowledge. I think we have said this earlier on, that this technology transfer may happen in different forms. It may be the physical component, physical product, or maybe a service, service that is affecting or impacting on people directly. It could also be just know-how. So the know-how, then you can go and build your own items, or you can have all of them together, and knowledge also, technical knowledge on how to use a certain technology. So the transfer is not necessarily that items are brought to another place all the time, although that is a part of it. So technology transfer in some situations may be confined to relocating and exchanging of personnel, or the movement of a specific set of capabilities. So I think that's just emphasizing more on the same that we have already mentioned up there. All right, so a different way of looking at the definition too is that technology transfer can also be defined this way. Technology transfer has also been used to refer to movements of technology from the laboratory to industry, developed to developing countries, or from one application to another domain. So we will just look into the various ways that we can define technology transfer. But as I said, this first definition here, of course, dominates the concept, and so is taken almost like this should be the definition. But even the rest, of course, make sense enough. But you will find that they seem to be just a way of restating the first definition. So with the definition 3 is that technology transfer, again, we can say in a very restrictive sense, where technology is considered as information, technology transfer is sometimes defined as the application of information into use. So where technology is considered as information, technology transfer is sometimes defined as the application of information into use. In a similar vein, economists such as Arrow and Dorsey have analyzed technology transfer on the basis of the properties of generic knowledge, focusing particularly on variables that relate to product design. All right, so those are the definitions. Well, we have another one down here by Mitterman and Pasha. We can also read that one, that Mitterman and Pasha have attempted a broader definition where they state that technology transfer is a movement of knowledge, skill, organization, values, and capital from the point of generation to the site of adaptation and application. So that's also another way to look at trying to define technology transfer. So each of these, of course, is saying something important and which can actually guide us in looking at what we to expect when we are talking about technology transfer. But of course, when it comes to maybe responding to a question that is asking about how would you define technology transfer, you are of course free to use any of these definitions, but make sure that you are quite clear enough in each case. And of course, as I said, the first one here seems to calculate quite clearly, and it is looked at as like it's a backbone of this concept of defining technology transfer. All right, so we'll continue to look at this document a little more, but let me allow us a short moment of interaction. A short moment of interaction as we move on. So I'm going to first of all remove my share, and we talk about we allow some time of interaction. So let me remove the share. All right, so I've removed the share. So any point of clarification, a question or a comment, you can also add to the concepts that we have shared. Just a short moment of interaction. So you can use your mic or you can use the chat. Okay, so right, yes, I'm going to try and make the screen a little, the Zoom a little better once you open it again. That's a request from Sila Jackson is going to do that. Yes, Gabriel is confirming that from his end is okay. So far, so good. So, any point of clarification there in terms of some of the things we have said as far as technology transfer is concerned? So far, that most of course, much of that has been definitions looking at how would we define the concept of technology transfer, and why is it important in the society. So I think some of the things that we have said have been very, very, I mean, they are trying to, or they indicate that it's expected. Society expects that those that are developing technologies will not keep it to themselves, but they are going to have it transferred so that it is available beyond where the technology has developed from. What we can call where the innovation happened or where the invention happened. So remember, it can be invention, it can be innovation. Yes, any other comment? Any other comment? Yes, Sela Jackson is asking something there. Is it a must for a person to share their innovation with the society? Yes, so maybe this one I can throw it back to the students. What do you think? Is it a must for a person to share their innovation with the society? Yes, Gabriel is saying something there. Okay, Gabriel is also raising another statement. There is a question: what are some of developing technologies in Kenya? Yes, so let's hear. Let's hear more about that. So you can be responding to Sila Jackson or to Gabriel Bumvi. So let's take a part in this discussion. Those two issues. Let's see how we can apply or contribute to responding to that. Yes, well, this time we have quite a number of questions there. And Leroy is asking also, must one seek government approval before creating an innovation? All right, so I'm throwing it back to the students again. Any of these areas, I'd like also you to contribute. So raise you can pick any of those and give us your view. What is your view about any of those? All right. I think for the question that, for example, Leroy is asking there, what must one seek? Okay, must one seek government approval before creating an innovation? I would say that it's not a must to seek government approval, although it will, of course, depend on what that innovation is about. So there are certain innovations that might be necessary to seek government approval because maybe if they have the capability of creating, harming people, especially anything that could harm people. It has the potential. It's not that you are creating something to harm people, but maybe it has a capacity to harm people. There are some things, yes, that might require one to seek government approval, but there must be some innovations also that do not require a government approval. All you need is to, of course, remember the concept of innovation is a new way of doing things, and some of these are just innovations. They may not necessarily be new in terms of what we call inventions. It may be just that you are coming up with a new way of doing things, and so you are innovating. So some of them may actually just impact on the life of an individual in terms of the usage of the innovation. Of course, with time, that innovation could be creating a product which can be sold, and so the individual that came up with the innovation could also get to, it can be a source of income because of the innovation that the person has come up with. But essentially, so there are those that may require government approval, but of course, there are many innovations may not necessarily require government approval. But now these are going to, let's see, that I think that's Siler Jackson. Is it a must for a person to share their innovation with the society? Well, it is yes and no, but it is more on a yes. Because if you don't share your innovation with the society, then of course you stand to lose, because your innovation may actually be something that can bring you income, and so you would want to bring it out and share it with the society, and that way, first of all, you help the society, but they also gain from it. Like you can imagine, we have a recent past. We have been talking about the innovation of the M-Pesa concept. You notice that's a kind of an innovation. If you keep it to yourself, and I don't know how you would, because it means that what you would do is that you will not even need to tell others, because then once you tell others, and you yourself, you are not thinking of doing anything to it, bringing it out to the society as you mentioned, then it means that you will not benefit from such an innovation. And of course, we know, like now, the developer of the M-Pesa innovation is getting a lot of money just because of bringing it out and sharing. So, except unless I did not capture your concept of sharing, I would say that you bring it out to the people, let people see what you have come up with, let them see how it can improve their life, and in the process, hopefully, you also earn from it. Of course, in that case, you would need now to make it an intellectual property. So you need to go through the process of doing intellectual property. Of course, now that one will require the government. Of course, that now is a government process to secure your innovation. And so now Gabriel is asking, what are some of developing technologies in Kenya. I think the one which we know very, very obviously is that of the M-Pesa, because it developed within the country, and so it is looked at as a technology or an innovation that developed from Kenya. So that one, I think we can bring it up very, very quickly, because it has been discussed quite widely. Well, Siler Jackson is also replying there. I am sure you can see that, and highlighting that Safaricom has also been working on 5G lately. Yes, so that's good contribution, Siler Jackson there. Now we don't know how it will happen, but also maybe sharing from the point that Siler Jackson has brought in is that we also have I have not had very independent sources, but there was when this COVID issue came up recently, somebody in the government source had said that Kemri is also one of the organizations that have been it has been it's taken as one of the organizations by the World Health Organization that are trying to come up with I think a vaccine for the COVID. And so, but of course, that is not yet there. They have not yet come up with a vaccine. But at least they are involved in the research. Now but I'm sure it's just that I may not be able to give a specific case right now, but there must be some technologies that have been developed in Kenya. They could only be used in Kenya, but it doesn't matter. It is still a technology that is developed, but which may be more useful within the country. So I think the one which is very, very obvious is this one of the M-Pesa. That one, certainly we can say it is made in Kenya. All right, so I think we can now continue. That was a good discussion and a point of a time of interaction again. So let me open the document again. We have actually remaining just a short part there, a short portion of that document that we want to use for this class, and then we'll go to our other topic for today, because this was just a short topic. We'll go to the other topic on what we call passive optical technology. So let me share the document again, the one we had displayed alone. All right, so we should be showing in a short while. Okay, sorry, I don't know why it's taking a little long at this time, but let's trust that it should be showing a short while on your side, on your end. Okay, well, it's taking a while. I don't know why it is a bit slow this time, but nonetheless, I think I can still continue to give us the content that we are waiting to see. And this document, one of the things that it continues also to highlight, I'm sure you had seen before we did a short time of interaction, is that it was introducing the concept that we raised the other time about diffusion. All right, so there is a diffusion, so the technology transfer and technology diffusion. So these two concepts are not talking about the same thing. So technology transfer, of course, is what we've been talking about, but what is the distinction between technology transfer and technology diffusion? And it is given in the document. So it's taking long. So the document gives a statement on that. It says that it may be useful to examine the distinction between technology transfer and technology diffusion. And sociologists such as Rogers and Shoemaker and okay, those, I think somebody repeated that because Rogers has written severally. So he's saying Rogers and Shoemaker have defined technology transfer in the context of diffusion of innovations. This has led to confusion, where many researchers and even practitioners refer to the terms technology transfer and technology diffusion interchangeably. Now, the literature on technology diffusion in general suggests the term refers to the spreading, often passively, right? Spreading passively. Um, all right. Let me finish that statement, then I check again on these challenges here. The document is still not shared. All right. So it says that the diffusion in general suggests that the term refers to the spreading, often passively, within a specific technological population, technological knowledge related to a specific innovation of interest to that particular population. So diffusion is more about spreading of the technology, and this is it says often passively. But with the technology transfer, on the other hand, it is a proactive process to disseminate or acquire knowledge, experience, and related artifacts. Furthermore, it is intentional and goal-oriented, but not a free process. Transfer also presupposes agreement and therefore involves agreement, unlike diffusion. So technology transfer, while the two may have some relationship, but they are not exactly the same. So at this point, let me stop this process and try to restart it again, because the document, for some reason, has not shared properly. I don't know. Let me stop it and try to start it all over again. We'll see whether it will load faster. There's a small portion that we want to look at, and for some reason the screen is the process of sharing the screen is taking a while. Okay, so we say therefore that there is a difference between technology diffusion and technology transfer. And by this explanation, that diffusion is how the technology spreads, is more how the technology spreads, and that the one where it is being spread to really does not participate in the process of it arriving there. It is all mainly about somebody who mainly the one came up with the technology trying to sell the technology to other people, convince other people to use the technology, and sometimes mainly for business purposes, commercial purposes. So there is no kind of sitting together with the place where the technology is going to for them to say, yes, we need this technology, bring it. So it's more like a one-sided way of doing things, and they have the technology just spreading across a certain context. But when it comes to technology transfer, it is something that may require some kind of an agreement. It's an agreement between the one who is the owner of the technology, so to speak, and the one where the technology is going, and there is an interest there. Where the technology is going, that area or that side of the party, that second party has an interest. They really want this technology to be transferred, and more. It's not just in terms of just having the technology to use, although that sometimes also an important thing that we want the technology so it can come. But you see, that's why we are saying that may not require the the participation of the where the technology is going, the one we are calling the transferee, because the transfer is interested in selling their technology, but here again we are talking in terms of getting the capacity to actually be able to utilize technology beyond just having items being brought to the transferee. We want a situation in which this person is given certain know-how on how to use the technology, but probably even how to develop items of that technology themselves. And that is where now we say, in this case, the transferee is involved in having this process happen, the technology transfer happen, while the other one is the diffusion is the transferee is more kind of passive, because whether the transferee want or not, technology, this person who is the owner of the technology, if it is a product that can be sold and create wealth, of course, this person will go around trying to introduce a concept and the technology to as many places as possible, so that they can have, of course, they can build some wealth. All right, so for some reason the document is not sharing, it's taking long, and that makes me get a bit concerned. So I'll need to have your confirmation. I don't know why it is taking so long to share. So I would need a confirmation that everything else is okay. So kindly confirm again that the audio is clear, because I'm now getting concerned, because it is taking very long to share. It actually might not share in a short while. it's taking quite a lengthy time, and it's not a big document. So I don't know why it is not being able to share. Yes, if you can get me, I'm saying that the screen sharing is taking so long. I don't know why it is behaving this way. But kindly let me know if the audio is okay. Maybe we can still go on. But I can just let it continue to try to load. And at the point that you load, I'll just highlight a few details that we would have missed. I just go through it briefly and just be sure that we are having. Yeah, so the audio is okay. Thank you, Mwangagi and Silas Jackson and Julius. Thank you so much. Okay, then we'll just continue. And I continue to share, and as soon as it is able to load the screen sharing, I'll go ahead and just repeat a few things from the document, but we'll just continue. Okay, so it's not very clear why it is taking that long. Otherwise, the other time it loaded so quickly. So I hope our server is also okay, but this is not likely to be the server. So, okay, so let me just continue sharing. And there's a point, if it accepts finally to load, we can revisit the document, and I highlight a few things that would have missed from the what would have missed by not seeing the document. Okay, so going on with so I was highlighting a portion of the document is discussing that issue of the difference between technology transfer and technology diffusion. You'll be able to look at it later. And in types of technology transfer, they are quite different. Again, just like in the case of definitions, when it comes to talking about the types of technology transfer, again, different researchers have come up with different ways of looking at this. How can we categorize the various types of technology transfer? I think for this one, I'll just highlight one which I think is like the main one, the one which kind of is used many times in describing the types, but a few more are also highlighted in this document. And so the two main ways of classifying technology transfer is vertical or horizontal technology transfer. So you have vertical technology transfer and you have horizontal technology transfer. With the vertical technology transfer, it says that it refers to transfer of technology from basic research to applied research, to development, and then to production, respectively. So it's a process, is several stages that capture the process of these what we're calling vertical technology transfer. It refers to transfer of technology from basic research to applied research to development and then to production. So kind of 4 phases of the process: research, development. Okay, it starts with the 2 types of research. So there is a basic research, then to applied research, to development, and then to production. So that is a vertical transfer. So it starts with the research end. And let's now talk about the horizontal transfer. So with the horizontal transfer, it says that it refers to the movement and use of technology used in one place, organization, or context to another place, organization, or context. And so here it's an issue of mainly using technology. It's a movement and the use of technology. So a certain technology, of course, has already been developed. We're saying we move that technology now to a different place, organization, or context. And so we can talk about that is horizontal technology. So as I said, there are quite a couple of other ways that are described in this document as also consisting of our ways of looking at the types, or kind of categorizing types of technology transfer. I'll let you read later on that, or you may have already read this. I think this document is already in the portal, and some of you already have access and look at it. So as I said, there are quite a number of other suggested types of ways of categorizing types of technology transfer. All right, now I can see the document should be showing. Thank you. But let me still get a confirmation. You can see the document from your end. So let me get a chat confirmation there. It's actually now showing there. So just to have a conversation. All right. Thank you so much. Julius is confirming it is visible. That's good. So we present that also from Stephen Mongagi has made a confirmation, and Everest as well. Thank you so much for that. We can then now go on. We now have the document showing. And so you can see what I was saying about the types of technology transfer. So let me just put the document a little up here first of all. So there was this part was talking about the difference between technology transfer and technology diffusion. So with technology transfer, the transferee is more participates in the process. of the transfer. But with the technology diffusion, it is more like one-sided thing that is happening, mainly the interest of the transferer, the one with who owns the technology, so to speak, or where the technology is, and moving it to other contexts or other people. So it's like it's more commercial in its approach. Somebody wants to make money, and so takes this technology to the where it may not be existing, but mainly for the sake of business earning some money. But the technology transfer, of course, whoever is also transferring, of course, finally it is still an issue of money. But in this case, the where the transferee also kind of participates in deciding, maybe even asking for this technology to be brought. And sometimes it may be the main factor of doing the transfer may not be necessarily commercial. It may also be doing what we normally call capacity building, enable these people to be able to use the technology without relying on the owner of the technology or where the technology may be existing. You take it to these people so that you can also better their lives. So it is more developing other people in some way. So that normally is where the technology transfer may come in. Although, of course, diffusion may also be looked at as technology transfer. Although it may be initially be just commercial, but yes, well, it's a technology that is helping others. It's good, even if it's going to be sold. Whatever is being brought to us is being sold to us. Well, it's helpful because to some extent, by us buying, we are also helping ourselves. But whoever is bringing it to us is more interested with the money they may make out of that. So I also talked about the various types of technology transfer, and I've said I will only describe the first one, which is the more dominating one, that technology transfer can be described as either vertical technology transfer or horizontal technology transfer. And I've already explained that, but as I said, there are also these other ways of describing types of technology transfer. So quite a number of approaches of doing that. And so I think for that part, probably we'll just leave it at that. Then there is also issues about modes and mechanisms of technology transfer. Modes and mechanisms of technology transfer. And as it says, the above technology transfer concepts were put in perspective by Amsden and Habibi. Amsden argued that in developed countries, the technology product cycle took this route or takes this route, research to development to design to production. So that is how Amsden describes the phases that developed countries go through in when it comes to the concept of technology transfer. So this is more of what we are saying. Where I talk about the basic research and all that. So you start with the research, then you come to development, you come to design, and finally to production. So that's the whole concept about basic research, applied research, and all that. So that is developed nations or developed countries. So then they start with research according to Amsden. Then it says, whereas in technologically less advanced developing countries, it takes to take the route of production, from production to design to development and then to research. So it seems like it is moving the opposite. The phases are moving the opposite direction. So here instead of starting with research, it is starting with production. In other words, they are getting an item. The technology has already been, let's call it that it has matured. It is mature now. It is, whoever has come up with this innovation already knows now how to, or they already are actually manufacturing products with that technology. There are products that are already being used in the society, and when it reaches there, according to them, that is where the developing world picks up from. So instead of starting with research, according to Amazon, developing world is starting with getting actually the complete item out of this technology that has come up. And I think according to this, probably is from the finished product, maybe these people start to learn the technology, even if they develop their own types of items. It's by studying the technology that is already in a developed product, manufactured products. So then from there they can do the design, try to design like the one which they have, try to develop it, and finally that's where now they start doing the research, probably to see how it can work in their context, and maybe also to start learning or developing more ideas on how this particular technology can help them in their context. So, well, that is by according to Amsden, that is how he looks at what happens in developing countries and what happens in the less developing countries, or these the developed countries and the developing countries. So that comparison as to the phases of technology transfer. So with those viewpoints, of course, are the ones which are being expounded a little more here, and I will not read the whole of these texts one by one. Instead, I will just highlight something here in the middle by this researcher called Steenhuis, and let me just read that. Steenhuis has combined these ideas and developed the concept of the technology building. Has developed the concept of the technology building. The technology building has two wings. The innovation wing, consisting of the research, development, production, and distribution stages of the transfer, and the exnovation wing consists of the distribution, production, development, and research stages of the transferee. So the innovation and exnovation wings refer to the technology development stages of the transferer and the transferee, respectively, in accordance with the Amsden and Habibi models of technology development. Steenhuis points out that transfer of technology can take place between the stages of both wings of the technology building in a variety of combinations. Sorry, I think I touched something by mistake there. All right, so we're saying that according to Steenhuis, the transfer of technology can take place between the stages of both wings of the technology building in a variety of combinations, and the terms innovation and exnovation, as used by Steenhuis, while useful, may cause confusion to practitioners, since the term innovation is used in many different contexts. Thus, in this paper, the technology development stages of transferer and transferee will be referred to as technology generation. So to generate technology or technology assimilation. So the development stages of the transferer and the transferee will be code. So for the transferer, we call it technology generation. For that of the transferee, we call it technology assimilation. Of course, it's based on the Amsden model of how the technology transfer happens in the developed nations as compared or as contrasted to how it happens in the developing world. And that is the discussion picks from that perspective and comes up with a number of ways of describing this process, how you could describe the various modes or mechanisms of doing the transfer. Now remember, according to Steenhuis, is that transfer can happen at any point. So in other words, we can have so the top row of blocks of these squares or the rectangles describe the transferer. So is written in big letters, and then for the stages that happens in the transferee, the lower blocks, and also labeled with small letters. So notice, so it seems that when it comes to the transferring can happen at any stage and can take any shape. Because the transferer can actually decide to transfer the technology in form of the research stage. So maybe the research they are doing, they can incorporate the transferer in that research so that it is like it's a shared activity. It's what sometimes is called a collaboration. Of course, the transferee is learning from the transfer. Although they may be doing the research together, but the transfer, of course, is the main participant in the process, but allows during the time of the research, they still allow that the research this transferee is also being involved in the process of the research. So the transfer can happen at any point. So it could happen that once the process reaches production. Now this S is actually supposed to be about a sale. You know, when you do the manufacture and then you start selling products, or you can also call it distribution. So S is studying for that, and they are explained in the document. I'm just avoiding going through the document, look at that, but they are explained. But anyway, either way, this R is research, D is development. Actually, there should be design. M is manufacturing, and S is supposed to be representing sale or selling product. So the way the transfer is done could happen at any point, but it could involve any mechanism, and those are actually captured in a diagram here, which I may not discuss. All right, so we have not really a diagram, but a table here. So this table is trying to show the various mechanisms that can happen as far as the whole concept of transfer of technology is concerned, transferring technology from the transferer to the transferee, and most likely taking the approach of a developed nation transferring technology to a developing nation. But of course, in the current status of the world, of course, we have very many what could have been called developing nations that have come up with certain technologies that also they can also start to transfer. So of course, it's a model that is based in the past, but of course we must accept still it is happening a lot, but the developing nations are also starting to come up with innovations and technologies that may not have happened before in anywhere else in the world. But in a general way, so this table tries to describe these various modes and mechanisms of transfer. Now, you don't have to get so much bogged down in trying to explain this table, but of course it's good. It's very important that you look at it. I don't think it is necessarily too hard to follow what is happening, and of course it's also explained above here. This area that we pick with in whose they are explained here, especially around this area here. It is explained what is the meaning of the way things are put here in this table. So remember the capital letters are standing for the transferer, and the small letters are standing for the transferee. So like in the first one here, as you can look at or you can interpret the full colon as meaning the word to, from transferer to transferee, where now the transferer is bringing the items to be sold or to be distributed, but this more is to be sold by the transferee. So the only the transfer that is happening here, or the only participation that the transferee is receiving, is to have items brought for distribution. And I think that is how maybe that is where, of course, again, as we said, if it is a transfer, is a technology transfer, we expect that the transferee is active in deciding whether to go ahead and get this technology come to them. But in this case, the first one, it's all about distribution. Get the technology, maybe get the items, the complete items, of course, and distribute, do the sales. So become a more like a partner. In fact, I think that's the best way to look at it. You are a partner to the manufacturer, and you have been given maybe you have the sole license of distributing this particular product in your country. You become the distributor. So that's what it means, S to S. And then manufacturer to S. So in other words, in a way here we are saying manufacturing is left to. So manufacturing is left to the owner of the technology, the transferer, but the transferee continues to be the one who is selling. In this case, the way this text describes this process is that when it is put like this M to small s, is that the transferer is manufacturing the product, but has allowed the transferee to be the sole distributor. So in this case, the first one is that both the manufacturer and kind of a partner is involved in the distribution of the product, but for the M to S is that the transferer only does the manufacturing, and the distribution is left entirely to the transferee. But so when you look at the text up there, you'll be able to get some idea as to what is happening here. But again, in this document, they also describe, depending on the main thing that is happening between the transfer and the transferee, we can talk about the transfer being sales intensive, or it is, and this is what we are calling this, you can call it transfer mode or transfer mechanism, where this side they say is the mode, and here is the mechanisms, explaining how it happens. But so you can call this one sales intensive. You can have a case where it is manufacturing intensive, where now the transferee is also doing some manufacturing. It can be development intensive. So of course you notice that the letters continue to become more on the right side of the semicolon. So as more items are being added, so sales intensive, manufacturing intensive, so development intensive, and then there is research intensive, where the in a way, well, again, some sides you find that there is the transferer is also involved on the other side. Is not leaving out everything to the transferee, because of course in some cases, for that to happen, for the transfer to happen at that level, then the transfer has to get involved on the other side, where we are putting the transferee. So the research, when we transfer the research, so it also going to involve, of course, maybe some development. So if it's development intensive, so development is still going on, but the transferer is also getting involved now on the side of the transferee, and getting to participate in the manufacturing. So is quite involved in the manufacturing in the side of the transferer, to the transferee, and he also is probably also involved in doing the sales at the same time. But the main thing that is happening with the transferee is getting involved in the development of the technology in their own nation. So, but you can take different formats. So you will notice that the letters are not all the same. So we have different approaches we can talk about, looking at the development intensive mode. And of course, the other one, research intensive, again, you can see the various forms that it can take. That table, please look at it. But as I said, it is not a case where you have to really try hard if it becomes too complex. But I think it will be good to just try and understand. But nonetheless, it is not required that you must understand everything there. But it's good if you can be able to explain what the table is saying. So finally, this is just a conclusion on the discussion above. So based on the above discussion, the following conclusions may be drawn. So it's still the same things that we have said, and so probably I would just avoid to go looking at that together. But when you look at the document, of course, read that, the conclusion of the issues that have been discussed above there. Now, that will be the end of our discussion on this particular topic on a technology transfer. The rest of the document continues to give many more issues related to the technology transfer, but for the purpose of our unit, we will only look at that portion up to where it is written to. So any other material starting from where it is written through here, it's not required for you to read. Of course, you can read it for the sake of just a general knowledge, but for the sake of the unit, we only read what is above this number 3. So that is what is required of us. All right. So again, maybe let me give us a moment to do some interaction. If there is again some comments you would like to make, add some to the discussion, or make probably raise an issue of clarification, or an issue of maybe a question, let me allow us to do some interaction. So I'm going to remove the share now, and I get back to the window for displays the image of the lecturer again, and we either do some chatting. I mean, you write some text at the chat, or you can use your mic. So again, we are welcome to do that. So karibu sana. So any comments, any point of clarification, probably a question, you can raise it at this point. Again, we have a time of interaction. Point of clarification or a question. Yes, thank you for that comment, Gabriel. You say that the lecture was fantastic. I'm happy to hear that. And let's trust that it has given you some important information. It has aroused some interest in some area of your life. So let's see how we can utilize this information in the coming days. As I'm allowing just a short time to do some interaction. Well, I think I'd looked at this topic as being short, but I'm realizing it wasn't as short as I had thought. There are still quite a number of issues that has taken a while to just make sure that they are clear. And so I'm suggesting that we may not be able to start the other topic so that can allow the students to have time to respond to our discussion forum question or issue that is raised there. So because as we say, the discussion forum is part of the class time, and so I'll let the students have some of the time now which is remaining. Of course, it's still a while. It's still a whole 1 hour remaining, but I'll allow that time to be used for the discussion forum. You visit the discussion forum and make your reply to the issue of discussion for this topic if you have not done that. I can remember seeing a number of you have done some replies, but so let me allow you time to respond to the discussion forum. But I'm still here. Even now, I'm still waiting the next 5 minutes to respond to a point of clarification as well as any question or comment. I would like, of course, to see your comments or questions or points of clarification. But as soon we'll be ending this session, and yes, Julius, you are raising a concern there. And yes, you're saying something about assignment. Yes, and cut one as well. Somebody is also saying something about cut one. I would like to, especially for Julius, I would ask you to write me an email on that so I can understand it more clearly. Write it as an email to Mwalimu. You have the lecture as a email. Just write it as an email so that I can look at it and understand exactly the challenge that you are expressing in your chat. Yes, I also see movies. The request there by Gabriel. Yes, I've noted that. And now this cut one should be coming probably sooner than we had anticipated. We had put cut one to come at week 7, but it might come earlier because of the various issues that we have to handle as an institution because of the way we are handling the classes now online and all that. The cut one, and of course assignment one as well, might come a bit earlier than the dates that we had put in our course outline. But let me clarify a few of those things tomorrow, not tomorrow, during our coming class. But just in case, because there's something that I need to confirm, and so you should expect that this cut one, especially cut one, could come a little earlier. And if I find the information that I need requires that this come before, I don't think it will come before next week, the class of next week, but it could come within that week. But let me confirm tomorrow. Tomorrow I will get some information to the class rep so that we are clear as to how we will do our cut one and when. But be prepared, of course, when it comes, it should just cover the areas that we have covered so far. I think for now, let me just put it that cut one, if it comes sooner, then it will only cover up to what we have discussed today. So we will be looking at from topic 1 to topic 3. And that, of course, it's possible to look at what we are calling topic 1. So this will be according to how these are addressed in the portal, whatever the portal calls topic 1, whatever has been put in that area called topic 1, whatever is in the area that is called topic 2, and whatever is in the area that is called topic 3. And of course, it's up to the document that we have been looking today, or the topic we have been looking today, is on technology transfer. The technology transfer, the concepts associated with that, of course, the impact. What is the impact of technology transfer? Also, why is it necessary for technology transfer to happen? So that is covered in this as our third topic. So that would focus on that as where Cat 1 may come from, and probably even assignment 1. So there could be questions raised in the two different assignments, I mean coursework components, but all coming from the same topic areas. But of course, they'll be raising different issues or coming from different angles, but from the same topics that have been covered so far. So I'll check some information that I need to confirm, and so it should be tomorrow. Then tomorrow I could send a communication to your class rep, who my belief is that Remy is a class rep. Is that correct? Yes. Any other issue you'd like us? Oh, it's okay. Thank you. I needed that confirmation. Yes, I can see confirmation from Gagi Stephen that for this is what? This is emerging technologies. So we have Gabriel as a class rep. Thank you for that. So then I will have communication going through the class rep Gabriel by tomorrow. Any clarification that we need related to when we could possibly have our assignment 1 and our cat 1. So I will send a clarification tomorrow so that we are clear with that. All right. Any other clarification? Now I know we have groups from a town as well, and those from TRC normally when we have face-to-face. Now I would like to be clear if you will always, and I'm sure that by now there could be some way of you being like one group together. But I would like to know from those that are from the town campus if there is you would have any challenge if communication goes through a student who is taking the role of the rep from TRC, or even Gabriel can also confirm to me, are you able to reach students from both those normally at for TRS and those normally for town? I know that now you are engaging a new kind of a situation. The setting is slightly different. You are all learning together. And yet some of you are from some are from the TRC. Okay, so well, Jackson is giving us information there. And so I okay, Sila Jackson will is taking the role of the class rep for the town students. So that's okay. I will make sure then that I send the communication to two different class reps so that everybody is able to access any information that I may want to communicate in one or the other, and which might be best done through the class rep. All right, that's good. I think we are getting clear with things. Okay, any other comment or communication before we finally end our session in terms of the lecturer presentation? This is the time of class, but I'll let you do the other part without at the moment without involving the at the moment. I think we have had quite a good session, being able to do quite a lengthy online session with the lecturer, and so I think that is enough for involving the lecturer for today. So I'll let you now do the other. As an individual, just make sure that you leave your comment for the, I mean, you reply the discussion from, or you can do it at the point that is most convenient. I don't think it is necessarily required for now, although that would be the very best. You do it around this time when it is due class time. And with that, I want to bring our time of presentation to an end. And so I will say that our today's session is over. Please have a great evening ahead of you. And so we'll end there for today. Thanks so much for having participated, for coming and participating in today's session. So goodbye.